Mark Hamill for the win! Hey everybody! So I am doing a review of Batman the Killing Joke. I got to see it in theaters last night during a Fathom event with my friend Scott. Oh man, it was so good. I loved it. So it was directed by Sam Liu, and it stars Tara Strong as Batgirl, Kevin Conroy as Batman, and Mark Hamill as the Joker. These actors did those voices on Batman the Animated Movie series back in the 90s, which was one of my favorite shows. I love that show. And also voiced characters in movies and video games afterwards from time to time. But Mark Hamill hasn't done the voice of the Joker for a while, and so he came back to do The Killing Joke. Now, for those of you that don't know, The Killing Joke was a graphic novel written by Alan Moore. It was a long time ago, but one of the greatest Joker books ever. But it is violent. It's very dark. Has very dark themes. So this movie is rated R. It is not for kids. It's more for fans my age, that loved the Killing Joke graphic novel. So there's about maybe 20 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes in the beginning of the movie that are not from the graphic novel. It's basically the story of Batgirl, and they're giving background information of her so that when you get to the Killing Joke storyline, you're supposed to have a greater understanding of the character because they don't touch on her too much in the graphic novel. I did like that choice because you didn't have to stretch out the Killing Joke. They didn't mess with the graphic novel of the Killing Joke. That part of the movie is almost frame for frame, which is great. I loved it. Even the animation styles were very similar. Longer faces, straight lines, very sharp lines. But the animation in the movie, I think, could have been a little better. Maybe if they had more money and more time to do it. The movie was set to be a direct-to-DVD or Blu-ray movie, so they may not have had the kind of money that they would need to make, a much more rich animation style. So they kept it a little bit more simplistic. It reminded me more of Batman the Animated Series or Batman Year One, that DC animated movie that Sam Liu also directed. But it had a very similar animation style, and they were trying to reflect what it looked like in The Killing Joke. I thought they did pretty good for the most part. I just wish there would have been a little bit more detail, but I can understand if they didn't have the budget to do it. Now, the first part of the movie where you have the Batgirl storyline, I did like the fact that they were giving a background of her so that you would have more of an understanding of her character by the time they got to the Killing Joke. But you could, even if you haven't read the graphic novel, which you should go and read the graphic novel. But if you haven't read it, you can still tell where that line is between the first part that was added on and where the Killing Joke started. There's a very clear, as soon as they fade to black and come back for that scene, you can tell, okay, this is where the graphic novel starts. It could be that the writing for the first part wasn't as good as Alan Moore. I mean, obviously it's not Alan Moore's stuff for that first part. And they were a little too heavy-centric on Batgirl. Even though they should have been, I thought it was a little too much. They could have shortened that down a little bit, I think. And it really didn't relate to the Killing Joke graphic novel. So it was more of like a side story that was just tacked on to the beginning. But I didn't hate it. It just, you could really feel the tone change between what they added in the beginning and where the Killing Joke started. But all in all, I loved it. I thought it was great. I would give it about a 7.5 out of 10. I think the animation could have been a little more detailed, a little more crisp, but the voices, man, Tara Strong and Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, they were on point. I felt like I was watching Batman the Animated Series again when I was a teenager. So good. And hearing Mark Hamill come back as the Joker is like the highlight. I loved it. He's the best Joker voice of all time. Oh, Mark Hamill. I love you, Mark Hamill. You're Luke Skywalker and you're Joker. Man, you have an awesome life. But I liked the movie a lot. I give it high regard. I may not suggest that you see it in the theater because it is a Fathom event, so it is kind of expensive. But if you're a huge fan of the Killing Joke graphic novel and you're a big fan of Mark Hamill, I say go for it, because I did. I do not feel gypped at all. I felt like I got my money's worth for what I wanted to see. But otherwise, check it out on Blu-ray and DVD when it comes out. So comment below and let me know what you thought if you saw it. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. And I will see you in the next video.